Welcome to Sports Close-Up on Armstrong. I'm Gary Clark. This is Mike Fiorello. Nice hat.
Yep.
Why do you insist on the Dan Craven hat look?
Well, I'm wearing this hat in honor of our guest today, Ed Mailliard. As we know, he's taking a lot of photographs, and maybe someday the Hall of Fame will call him.
What's the 39 significant for?
They just had different numbers on hats. So.
Wasn't the Yankee?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
It's too high of a number for Yankee to be there. Although Rivera will change that.
Yes, the last number 42. Rivera. All right. Yes, Ed Mailliard today. He is erstwhile photographer. He's a recently retired photographer, actually.
Yes, from the Tribune.
From the Tribune. Retired from the Tribune. Still taking pictures. Been in spring training. I'll tell you, and I'm sure I tell it during the show. I'll tell it during the show, too. But I had my seats in Cleveland were like really good seats, and every time I'd go by, I'd yell at him. And then he'd come over, we'd sit on dinner on talk. He'd say, every time he'd say, "Well, you're really good seats, Gare." I said, "Yeah, that's what happens. You pay for them."
They were good seats.
They were great seats. Yeah, you were there for the Yankee game.
Yeah.
And you got in a fight with the kid in front of me. That was nice of you, Mike. I really appreciated you doing that. I got to sit there every game. They said, "Who was a jerk from New York?" I said, "Oh,
it was me."
Yeah, I see. He paid me good money for the tickets. That's all.
What can I say? The guy was being rude to the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, as well they should be. Anyhow, all right. Here we go. Then let's get to it. Ed Mailliard, photographer. Professional photographer, sports photographer.
Yeah, sports for Tops.
Ed Mailliard for Tops, and we got a great trivia question for you when afterwards too. So here he is, Ed Mailliard. All right, let's get to some pictures.
Let's look at some of your pictures.
Pictures here.
Let's look at them.
Ed's brought a slew of pictures.
All right, we let's see on this little laptop here. We'll start with. These are some of the old black and white photos that I took from the Tribune. There aren't very many here.
Oh my!
This is
look at
Mike
the shorts,
Pirro. Yeah, check it out.
Pirro,
now, what year would this be? Shooting the
87
last shot.
This is up at Erie
versus Alderdice, the largest crowd in the history.
Look how well he
I was there
defended.
with my dad up in the stands watching. That was 1987.
Now,
87.
and that's the shot that went in.
That's the shot that went in, because the next frame, you'll notice 002 on the clock.
No, 0.
Next frame, zeros. Still 52, 52.
I remember that 24 kid that down in with the flat top haircut. He was very good.
Nora Price told me at one point that one of these Alderdice kids went to the NFL or something.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, he's right.
But
Norm has some great stories.
And I always
about
wondered who threw their popcorn up in the air there.
It wasn't me, because I was over on this side with you. I was up.
And I had heard later that there was a swarm onto the floor.
Yep.
And that Mike Pirro actually felt that he feared for his life for a second there.
And so did Coach Price, because he was telling us that he was on the bottom. He ran out on the bottom, and
I was
broke.
I was down where the hoop is there, and I got up onto the stand of the where the basket base was, because I could tell that this is mob mentality, even though there was no malice intended or anything like that.
Sure.
It was interesting to me that it felt a little bit dangerous. And then I heard in the locker room that Mike Pirro felt as well.
I just remember there was like 6 Alderdice fans down that corner. Everybody else was a Meadville fan.
Yeah.
5,000 strong. It was just...
Well, do you remember when we adopted the Erie East team?
Yes, that's right.
Erie East,
before the game.
Erie East came to our banquet after the
That's right, they did. They did.
And said, we can't say how much we love Meadville. And then we have
Rocky
Blyer's last touchdown. Notice it's a little out of focus, the old boy. And that's where photography has changed over the years. And I don't know how we did it back then, but you had to adjust your aperture and your focus and take the picture. And it's in action. It's in motion.
Yeah, and you got to anticipate too.
You anticipate the action. Yeah. Tom Prody, the great umpire from the Meadville Softball Leagues, told me that. He says, I want to tell you one thing. Anticipate the action. I go, Tom, I already do that, but thank you for the advice.
As an umpire, I'm sure that too. Yeah.
But he and Pat Smith were just great umpires back then, and that's really where I cut my teeth, was with the Meadville Softball League, Saratoga Softball League.
Sure.
But Blyer got stopped on about the 6 or 7 yard line. A guy's got a hand on each foot. Another guy's got him around the belly, and he scores a touchdown. How's he do it?
By the way, he played at Notre Dame with Mike Kelly,
Oh, is that right?
Congressman. Yeah.
Wow.
Mike was there. at
Yeah,
the
Mike
same
was
time.
there.
Oh my gosh.
He was injured, but
Yeah,
Rocky played
that's
on the team that year.
And this.
Oh, that's a great
I
picture.
found this picture.
There's
in my
Norm.
cellar.
That's Michael Burnett, and this is
Chris Buchanan.
Chris Buchanan. I remember when he broke the record.
This picture meant a lot to me. This was a magic moment because
Tom Pyle.
there you go. I had seen Chris Buchanan play
Okay.
in high school, and what great teams those were with Norm Sundstrom and et cetera.
Sure.
And then of course I was with Michael Burnett for all 4 years or even 6 years. I remember at the Tribune one time, they called us up and said, "You got to come down to the junior high. There's these 2 7th graders down here, and they're dunking the basketball left and right. You can go up over the catwalk and take pictures of them dunking." I'm going, 7th graders are dunking? And
That's
so
the
I
kind of team
walked
we had
down,
then,
You know,
yeah,
we're a
yeah.
block away, and I'm probably sitting there sleeping or something anyway. So, okay, I'll walk down there. And it's Michael Burnett and a couple
Probably
of
Jim
other-
that called you up. The scholar. Probably Jim called
It
you.
might have been. It might have been.
Might have been Norm.
But
you never know.
to have been, personally connected with,
Sure.
at least in my own mentality, with both of these young guys, it just meant so much. Chris was just a great guy. I played against him at Heidi Cooper.
Okay.
And in fact, I remember one time we were playing against him, and I out-rebounded him. I boxed him out, and I caught a rebound. And I said, I out-rebounded Chris Buchanan. Boy, you think I didn't have my lunch handed
Yeah,
to me
I'll
the
bet
rest
you
of
the
that
rest of
session.
that. Yeah, I was going to say. Nice move, huh? There's Brian Sipe with the Cleveland.
Brian Sipe
That's Hoagland.
and Gary Dunn.
Gary Dunn.
Great football player out of Miami. And a lot of people
That's Doug
might-
Deacon on the ground down there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. That's
Oh
Doug
my
Deacon.
God.
Can you imagine if Brian
73.
Sipe,
Look how Deke's like trying to catch his foot.
imagine if
Well,
Brian,
he'd be cheating.
Yeah.
He'd be Deacon. That'd be no
imagine
problem.
how history changes if Sipe, they call a running play and they kick a field goal and beat Oakland instead of having Sipe.
They couldn't kick a
run.
field goal because Don
Exactly.
Cockroft
changes.
was so bad. That game. Don Cockroft was so
You
bad.
gotta
They
kick the
couldn't.
field goal.
No,
that
you
was
don't.
the worst
Not-
call in the world.
No, it's not.
That's why Sam is doing.
It's
college.
always a bad call when it doesn't work. Red right 88, by the way. Lambert getting
This
Tony
is-
Dorsett.
Boy, you're good.
Well, I've been
Two
watching a
Hall
long
of Famers
time.
right
Yeah.
here. Lambert and
Boy, that is
Winston.
neat.
And I thought
Donnie Shell behind
Donnie
him.
Shell and Winston there.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Donnie had a great career at Pitt too.
Yes, he did.
Hopewell.
But I thought that was interesting because of the connection of the two Hall of Famers.
Oh yeah, that's kind of neat.
I met Jack Lambert in Meadville once.
Did you really?
His daughter played softball for
No, that's not
Allegheny.
why I met him. We were coming back from a softball tournament. It was like 1:30 in the morning. Quick story here. Me and was Roger Schlosser and Danny Bidwell. If you guys are watching, you remember this. And we're crossing the street, and Danny Bidwell looks at me and goes, "I think that's Jack Lambert." 2 beautiful girls on each side of him. I'm serious. So I'm a Jet fan, and I yell out, "Hey, Lambert, Greg Buttle is twice the linebacker you are, Greg Buttle."
You
from
think
Penn
over and
State."
flip your car over?
So I turn, all of a sudden I hear this. He's tearing towards me. Now my heart's pumping. Like, he runs up with that, teeth and a mustache, and he goes, "Who said something?" And I said, "I don't know, Jack. I think the guy ran down there, but you're the greatest guy in the world." And these 2 girls come up and go, "Come on, Jack. We got to get going. We're going fishing in the morning."
He's a Kent Stater.
Yeah.
Kids
A Golden Flash. And he, I'll never forget watching Monday Night Football one night, him talking about, they asked him anything else they could do to protect the quarterback because he had to put dresses on them. He
there you
loved
go.
Jack
Right,
Lambert.
right.
He was one of those guys.
That's when they could hit back then. Today to be called for roughing the passer.
That's true. Good point.
Well, let's see what else we got here. So this is my sporting news days here.
Okay.
We'll pop into these.
Now, how'd you get hired by Sporting News? Reggie Jackson with the California
Sporting
Angels?
News and Baseball and
The
Football
Angels.
Digest
Yeah.
were all on speculation, and
California Angels back then.
which meant that if I sent 100 pictures, let's get it.
Wait a minute.
If I sent 100 pictures, careful.
Is that the former President Clinton right there?
It is.
Yeah.
If I sent 100 pictures
Keyword
to
being
Sporting
former.
News,
What?
they would send me $3 each. So they'd send me $300 and they'd say, "These pictures are now ours." Now, if they got in the magazine, they would send the payment for what one image would be in the magazine. And one time I got a check from them for like $1,200. And I'm going, holy cow, I found out their baseball preview came out.
Oh, it had all your stuff in there.
It had
Okay,
a bunch
yeah.
of pictures
Nice.
in there, and I might have even had a cover on. They do regional covers and things like that. And back in the 70s, you get a check for $1,000. You're going, hey,
Oh,
boy,
sure.
I'm in the chips.
Well, I would
Yeah.
even
Take
now.
a check. I was going to say, I'll
Well,
take
yeah,
one now for
except my
$1,000.
Armstrong check.
So in '92, Bill Clinton actually went to a Pirates game, and
I didn't know that.
Or actually, would it be '91?
Well, he ran in 92 is when he
ran
ran.
in '92,
yeah.
and he was
Okay.
He's got in Rock and
inaugurated
Soda.
in January of '92.
Is that when he was president or not yet?
He was not
yet.
president.
He was governor of
How
Rock and
young he
Soda.
is.
So he was like.
How neat is that, though?
Yeah, and
know, I mean, how
probably
often-
one of the AP guys is next to me and says, hey, you know this fellow Bill Clinton? He's running for president. He's here today. I'm going, Bill Clinton,
Nice.
who's that? I don't know. Well,
He wasn't such a bad president even when you
and
look
as
back.
soon as I look at him, he starts waving to the crowd and everything,
Nice.
and I'm going,
Michael,
okay.
we're not going to get into that, so let's
wasn't
keep
such
on.
a bad president.
Let's keep going.
He wasn't.
There he is.
Then we got Barry Bonds, a skinny
Bonds.
Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
Yes,
before
that's
the- pre-steroids.
PD.
Yeah, there you go. But you'll notice the baseball
Arizona
in this picture.
State
is
Well, look at
blurred.
that.
And now the baseball.
Well, the bat's kind of blurred,
and the
too.
bat's
yeah.
blurred too. And now with digital photography,
You
I
get-
never wanted to. I was one of the old dogs. I want to stay on film. I don't really want to go to digital. I finally bought a digital camera, and Van Tile said, "Well, do you want to trade in your 2 film cameras?" And I said, "Oh no, I'm going to keep them because
Now you can put it in a museum.
I never touched them again.
Yeah,
I never
yeah.
touched them again."
You now they're in the museum. They can be put in the museum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Cal.
Cal Ripken.
Yeah.
What, young Cal Ripken, too.
Who's
That's
that guy?
Carl Hairston,
Carl
Big Daddy.
Harrison, Big Daddy.
Yeah, that's, what's his name? That's Hall was his last name.
And
I'm
he
trying to
crushed Abercrombie on
There
that
you
play.
go. Big Daddy. There's Chuck Knoll.
Chuck Knoll. And
Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews scores a touchdown.
Junior. That's Junior.
This is CM2.
CM2, yes.
And I printed this picture up and I gave it to CM3.
That's a great
in the hallway as he walked off the field to the locker room after that was about 3 years ago, preseason game, Packers.
Nice. What did he say?
He said nothing.
Wow.
He just took the picture, and I said, well, give that to your dad. And he kept walking, and I said, your dad scored a touchdown against the Steelers that day, and that's the shot. And he kept walking, he went in the locker room, and that was it.
Nice guy, huh?
Yeah.
Well, his brother is Bruce Matthews, is now the head
Oh,
coach at Tennessee.
Yeah, his
Do you know,
Clay Three's uncle.
Bruce Matthews, in my opinion, was perhaps the greatest athlete that ever played in the NFL.
Oh, really?
Look at the longevity of that career.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
he
yeah,
played 22 years.
Well,
and
Luke
he-
Rose was that way,
and he
too.
was so athletic. He was one of those
Hey, Luke
guys.
Rose is a great tackle and a kicker.
And a kicker.
A kicker. He played 24 years.
Yeah, but the last.
You know what? Go ahead and laugh
last
all you
5
want.
years, he
you
just
jerk
kicked.
Jets.
He just
I'm
kicked
sorry.
the
Let's
last
move
five-
on because
he
you know
just
what?
kicked the last
Here
5
we
years.
go. Here we go.
And
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino.
Who, by the way, I watched the thing on ESPN,
Yeah,
the
wasn't that
30 by
good?
30.
That was good.
Bill Hillgrove was in the room with him during draft night.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
How about all the experts saying how bad he was? What's Don Shula do? He calls up the coach of the Panthers then, who was
Right.
Johnny Major.
Foes Fazio.
Foes Fazio.
Oh,
And
Foes,
so
okay.
he was.
Foes Fazio, yeah. And Shula says, Foes, is this stuff true? And Foes, it's all a bunch of crap. He goes, thank you.
I never heard that.
Yep, it's a true
that's-
story.
yeah.
Marino.
Because I was thinking that was Johnny Majors
No, it
was
was
a coach.
Foes Fazio was last year.
I also have pictures of Marino when he trained at Edinburgh with the Pitt Panthers. That was their
Oh, yeah.
fall training. August, they would go up there.
That's a great picture, by the way.
And it's not great, but this is the tops.
That is a very good picture.
Formula.
Yeah, that's a great.
I
yeah.
want to see
His technique
I
of
want to see
holding
his
the ball.
face. I want to see a tool of the trade. I want to see some diagonal lines.
See how he's holding the football?
Yeah,
That separates a good quarterback from a bad one. A lot of bad quarterbacks hold it with one hand.
bottom finger.
Yep, and he'll say that. You got to hold it up.
Okay.
You got to bring it
Little
like
Dave
this.
Adams over here. Yeah.
Franco. That was
Franco?
actually my first cover. That was
Okay.
in the mid '70s, and that was on Football Digest.
What a player.
Yeah, he was terrific. Some people say he kept running for the sidelines, but you know what?
Yeah. Well.
Great person, too.
Tony Gwynn.
Tony, that's a young Tony
Tony.
Gwynn.
Young Tony.
Well, that's pretty. You can see his belt still.
Now,
There you go.
besides Ted Williams, one of the best hitters that ever played the game.
He was terrific. He was very hard to photograph because he kept his eye and his head down on the ball, he would almost never look up. And so I had to take pictures of him in the warm-up circle.
So I imagine the Indians were pretty easy to take pictures of because they were always looking up.
I have kind of a funny story about Tony, though. They warmed up, or they had spring training in Yuma, Arizona, before they moved to the Phoenix area.
Okay.
So I drive down there. Top says, you know, you're in Phoenix. Actually, I was in Tucson. Then they sent me 3 days to Phoenix, and they said, can you go over to Yuma for 2 days? I says, yeah, I'll go over there. And so I get out there, and it's almost like a high school field.
Wow.
And Tony is hitting batting practice, and there's a first baseman, and I think there was an outfielder. And Tony is lining these line drives. And so I thought, this guy has pretty good bat control. And I go out and I kneel on third base. And he looks at me, and so I said, hey, Tony, do you mind if I kneel here? Because I could never get good pictures of him because, you know, and I wanted to get low.
And the left-handed stick, too. So
Yeah, left-handed. So I'm in perfect position. First pitch comes in. Bang, bang, bang. I shoot like 6, 7 pictures of him. The ball goes zooming right over my head.
Was he smiling?
Well, after the second pitch, same thing happens, and it comes like 2 feet closer. And I said, Tony, I thought you said I could kneel here. And he says, you can kneel there all day long if you want. He says, I don't
That was the last time you knelt there.
And I said, that was my last pitch. And I went back, and I thought, well, you know what?
How good is he?
I got enough.
Yeah, how good is he to place it right over like that? You know?
It just, you know.
Like the Rod Carew
it's
thing.
Amazing. It's
Same thing.
amazing, the bat control that a Tony Gwynn had.
Yeah.
You know, and he was the greatest guy. He
Great
would
guy.
always hang out with us and goof off. But he was joking around.
He's now
with
the
me.
coach of San Diego State.
San Diego State, yes, that's right.
exactly. He was Strasburg's coach, I believe, for at least 1 year.
Oh, okay, all right, that makes sense.
Jack Morris.
Jack Morris.
You know,
Black Jack Morris.
Jack Morris, his coach was Mel Queen, I believe. It was.
Right.
Pitching coach.
And Jack was in like a funk. And so, but he's out there warming up before an Indians game. And so I'm
That's
out
taken,
there.
by the way, at the Indians game. I can
Yeah,
tell by,
yes,
I can
it
tell by the
was.
old stadium wall.
And so maybe the day before or something, I'm out there in the bullpen area, and I shoot and Mel Queen looks to me and he goes, did you just take like 7 or 8 pictures in a row? And I said, yeah, it's a motor drive on the camera. He says, can you
That's
shoot
smart. I know.
10 rolls of film on this guy and just give me the film?
Yep.
And I said, sure.
You
no
can see if he can
problem at
correct
all.
his motion. He's having a hard time pitching at that point.
Yeah. And so
That was the first idea of videotape, really.
I don't know
right.
whatever became of it, but I handed him
Yep.
several
What a
rolls of
smart
film,
move.
and I'm pretty sure he won a Cy Young.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he shut the Indians out. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Don't worry about
And
it.
then he went to Toronto and won a World Series with them.
Jim Kelly, who didn't
Jim
want to go to
Kelly.
Buffalo, once he got there, never left.
He loved it there when he got
Still
there.
there.
Exactly right.
Still there.
Kelly was just fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
I took
just just a Pittsburgh boy, just a down home guy.
yeah, right.
You know.
I took Mike Hogan to a game up one time in Buffalo, and Hoagie owned the Scoreboard Tavern,
Right.
or still does. And Kelly throws a touchdown, and so they come off the field, and Mike's pretending he's my assistant with the camera and everything. And when he comes off the field, Hoagie reaches out and he pats him on the ass, on the butt.
I'm sorry. We'll take that out of there.
And Kelly turns around and goes, yeah, man. I'm going, okay,
He's
whatever.
Brady, PA, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, Mike,
That's great.
That backs me up
You know,
to his story.
Well, Buffalo got him because he was in the USFL first with Houston.
The Houston Gambler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly.
Where he learned to run and shoot.
But that reminds me of a story over the scoreboard. I told you on the phone, Jack, who had the first sports show here?
Jack Christie.
Jack
Jack Christie. When I saw Jack Christie's interview, he interviewed me as well. So I'm maybe one of the first ones that has resurrected.
Okay, done twice, yeah. Right.
And so
We're in color now.
it's yeah,
We're outside of Meadville now, too.
so Jack, he asked me this question near the end of the interview, and he says, well, how do you concentrate at a game and all that? And I said, well, you know what, to tell you the truth, well, I had been at the scoreboard before the interview because I had the day off, and so Hoagie's over there, and we're all doing all this stuff, enjoying sports and all. And so he says, I said, well, Jack, to tell you the truth, if people come around me, I want to concentrate. He says, I tend to move away from them. Especially if a guy comes up to me, I'm on the first base line at a high school game or a college game, and he starts to chat, I'll excuse myself and move on down. I go back to the scoreboard after the interview.
Oh, this is good.
And I walk in the door, and I sit down, and everybody gets up and moves to the other end of the bar. They go, yeah. I go, okay.
That's great.
Guess they saw the show, huh?
But, the scoreboard was a great place to learn sports. And there's Kelly throwing a pass.
That rifle arm of his.
This
Sipe
is your
again.
boy Sipe getting faced by Mr. Lambert
This
himself.
is always a great shot.
And
there's
Jack
Lambert.
with his tooth.
Very photogenic, though.
Oh, yeah, smile.
Yeah.
And who's that?
Looks like Lynn Jones to me.
It is Lynn Jones.
Look at that, huh? There he
There
is.
he is.
We had Lynn and Darrell on.
Lynn on. Lynn's,
It was one of the-
I love wanting to watch Lynn play.
Oh,
You know,
it was
every
one of
chance
the
I got,
greatest
he would.
interviews.
He's got a few World Series rings.
Wasn't
Remember?
that fun?
5, I believe.
Yeah.
5
Fun to
World
watch
Series
him,
rings. It was
he and
great.
Darrell.
There he is.
And I said to my brother on the phone just after that, who lives down in Lancaster, I said, I'm really jealous because I said, though my brother and I are close, we don't get to go fishing together or, go to a game together because he's not here. He's down there. I don't get a chance to see him that
Yeah,
often.
there you go.
And I said to Darrell, how lucky are you guys? He goes, we're very lucky.
Oh, no question.
He said that. We're very lucky.
I saw them at an Edinburgh basketball game this winter, and I remember when they were inducted into the Crawford County Hall of Fame. Lynn said, I don't deserve to be here. My brother deserves to be here. He says, but every time they were all up there hitting and playing and throwing and catching, he says, I was down at the creek trying to catch crabs and stuff like that. He says, I don't know how I got here and Darrell didn't quite. Well, Darrell did.
He did eventually, yeah.
But-
he did.
You got to wear the pinstripes.
Oh, well, there you go.
And
Nolan Ryan?
Nolan Ryan throwing in Pittsburgh.
Young Nolan Ryan, yeah.
And I don't know what these guys are doing, but it's before a Meadville game. That's Piro up there at the top.
Okay.
I don't know why Norm is showing off his legs, and I don't know why Charlie Hipple is like laughing his butt off there for a second.
I see better legs on a pony.
That might have been.
Might have been during the Erie East game before a playoff game.
That's a very young Norm Price, by the way.
Well, he's forever young, right?
Sure he is. He is. He'll never age.
And
Pete Rose.
Pete Rose, I
Hustle.
had his autograph on a baseball that Sandy Petruso had lined up these
Right.
sports banquets for years, and I got his
Right.
autograph on a baseball. And it might have been this very day where I handed Pete Rose the baseball prior to the game.
He charge you for it?
But he handled the ball, and he kept going around. Had Yogi Berra, had Whitey Ford, had Willie Starr.
He was a fan, too.
Oh,
Yeah, Pete Rose
What
was
do
a
you
fan,
say?
too.
all of these Sandy Petruso banquet people
Right.
were on the ball. And Pete looked at the ball, and he goes, I'm already on this ball. And I said, well, yeah, but you're close to breaking the hits record. Why don't you write 4192 or whatever the number was that he had that day under and date it? And he goes, I only signed a ball once. He threw it at me. It hits me in the chest.
Wow.
And I'm going, okay, well, that's okay then. I understand.
Only sign a ball once.
Yeah, I only signed a ball once. And
Take it.
an interesting
Adler
thing
Rose.
for Tops.
That's your picture on the ticket.
A lot of them are doing this now.
A lot of them do this
Yeah.
now. And of course, I didn't pay to get into the game that day. But I noticed a guy had his ticket.
Yeah, but he's still working, though. So it's not like he's going there to enjoy a game of a beer.
Right.
I mean, it's not like,
to tell you the
right?
truth, I was probably in the concourse area.
Okay, all right.
And
I'm helping here, Ed. Don't help
thank
yourself,
you.
all right?
Tops would send us product all the time. So I always had like a pocket full of cards, and I'd give them to the autograph hounds and all that stuff. I'd
Right.
just give it all away. This guy, I'd look at his ticket, I go, hey, can I have your ticket? And he goes, well, maybe. He says, what do you want the ticket for? And I said, why?
I took the picture.
Yeah, basically. He goes, yeah, I guess I can get. I says, I'll tell you what, how about I give you 10 packs of cards, you give me the ticket.
Nice.
So I reach in my pocket, give him 10 packs of cards, he gives me the ticket. I go, okay,
Okay,
well, that's
I go with that.
interesting.
Reggie.
Reggie did not want his picture taken in the dugout. A lot of guys did.
Reggie.
The action's on the field. The action's on the field.
Reggie gave Darrell a bit of a hard time too. Darrell sub for him.
Oh yeah, Darrell told me some of those stories.
Yeah,
Darrell and Lynn are so well respected, and
beloved.
All through baseball. I go to spring training now. In fact, there was just a fellow at the Kansas City camp, Art Stewart. He says, "You tell Lynn Jones I said hello and that I love him."
Well, that happened last year.
And I'm going, holy cow! Yeah. So these guys remember Lynn and Jerry Nairn. Every time I go near Jerry Nairn, he'll say, Darrell and Lynn and Clint Hurdle.
The Pirates first base coach also. He played with Lynn in Kansas City.
Who's that?
When we were doing the caravan last year, he said, "You tell Lynn I said hi."
There you go.
Can't think of his name off the top of my head.
I went down to a spring training game, the Red Sox game, when I was in Florida, in Fort Myers, and I saw Lynn. You'd think it was Darrell, as long as my brother. He introduced me to all these people. I'm like, oh my Lord. Well, and the Pirates were always fun to go down and watch them play, and the Indians in spring training. I miss the Indians being in Florida. I was down there every year, and I enjoyed it for a week, and now they're out in Arizona.
The flight is only about 20 minutes longer to get to.
Yeah, but there's a flight, and I usually like to drive.
Now, you did pitches that made baseball cards.
Yeah, we have some of those too.
Yeah,
there's Ricky
Henderson, Pete, number 1.
Sandberg.
Smith.
This picture changed my career. If you look at it closely.
Michael Jack Schmidt.
Michael Jack's 500th home run.
Oh, really?
You look at it closely, it's out of focus. I became so angry with myself after this that I said, you're either in it or get out.
Right.
What are you trying to do? You got to be better than an out of focus picture of a guy's 500th home run. And a picture appeared in Sports Illustrated by the guy standing right next to me that looks almost identical to that, except it's in focus.
Yeah. Well, and Willie Stargell
down at spring training. Steve Carlton, Joe Theismann. That shows you how old I am right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Against the Browns,
of course. Warren Moon
and Yogi before he got fired. And look at his sad sack look. He got fired about a couple of weeks after this.
Yeah.
Was that the second time he was the manager of the Yankees?
I think it might have been.
And he was he only lasted about a month. Steinbrenner fired him. Wouldn't go back to the Yankees.
All right, listen, I'd love to go on, but we are out of time.
We're out of time.
See, and you told me you thought 50. We're going to do it again.
We're going to have to another
We're going to do it again so we can get the rest of these pictures of it. Just to sit here and watch these pictures is just fascinating.
Because you have to say 4 minutes because I turned in a. I'm getting a thumbs up from Kevin there. Right. I turned in a song.
Right.
And who was choreographed by my granddaughter.
Oh, that's
she did a dance to it, but I have put it to music, or I put pictures to music. She plays 7th grade at North Hills High School in Pittsburgh.
The Indians of North Hills. They used to be Indians.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
I'm a nickname fanatic. So.
Well, gentlemen,
thank you. I really enjoyed that. That was great. We're going to do this again.
We're going to have Ed back.
Yeah, because I only have about 100 pictures left.
Yeah, really, we have lots more to go.
It's not great photography,
well,
but
I'd say it's pretty darn good to me. I've really.
Well, you've got true photographers in this town with Richard Sayer, Jim Stefanucci, Victoria. Andrew Mahone. Great photographers.
Just to throw a plug in here, Gary. I don't know if they still have that Crawford County Hall of Fame. I think Ed should be inducted for all his work.
Oh my gosh!
Wow,
I really do. I mean, Tops and Sporting News and everything else definitely should be inducted.
All right, there you go. Mike gets his vote.
Well, don't cut that part out.
Ed Mailliard. For Mike Fiorello, I'm Gary Clark. This is Sports Close-Up on Armstrong.